There you go. Okay, you can call the meeting to order.
Okay, everybody, good afternoon and welcome to the meeting of the Community Grants Advisory Committee. My name's Andrea Rayment. I'm the chair. I don't think there's anybody, I guess people could be watching live streaming. Yeah, Steph?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm just catching up on the 21st century technology. It's a bit embarrassing. First order of business is to open the meeting. We need a motion for that, don't we?
No, we can just move on to approving the agenda.
Well, that's great. Let's move on to approving the agenda. So the agenda for today's meeting has been sent around, including, I think, to the applicants. And we just need, I don't know if anybody has any late items to introduce today.
No.
Looks like no. Okay. So we just need a motion to approve today's agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Thanks, Michelle. And second? Maureen, thanks.
All in favor?
Thanks. And yeah, Yvonne, how are you going to be all in favor, my friend? What are you going to do? Put a thumb up or something?
Oh, just say yay.
Right on. Got it. Okay. So, and then the next item is to adopt the minutes of our last meeting, July 6, 2021. It feels like yesterday. It was much hotter than it is today. I think we were in the heat wave then, weren't we? It was crazy. But enough about that. So those minutes have also been circulated. Any comments before those are adopted? Okay, well, a motion to approve our minutes from last summer.
I so move.
Go, Michelle. Thank you. And a seconder, I'm gonna guess it's you, Maureen. I feel it. Okay.
I wasn't actually there.
Oh, that's true. So Yvonne, do you want to second that?
Yvonne? We can do unanimous consent. Let's move on. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay. And then can I jump in, Andrea, about the public comments will be through when we discuss the applications, but I put in here election of chair and vice chair because it's part of our terms of reference for this committee. But pursuant to our discussion, we can defer that item.
That's a good idea. We'll have time at our next meeting, I know, to talk about that. We've got big fish to fry coming up, so let's do that, if that's okay.
So I'm going to let Family Place in the room now.
Great, thanks. Good afternoon, Anne, and I'm assuming Tracy. There she is. Hi, Anne. Welcome. At just the perfect moment. So here we go. We're getting into the meat of this year's applications. And the fifth item on the agenda is to provide just that bit of background about our granting to date. And Steph, did we have a document in the package that sort of provided that summary? I can't remember.
Yes. So it just has what the grant requests were and what the grant awards were. Hi, Tracy.
Okay.
From 2014 to now.
Okay, so I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. It's in the materials, for your reference, but also it may come up in some of the discussions as well.
I just put it in the chat as well, the link.
Oh, you're so good. This is so 2022. Here we go. Okay, and now we move into the discussion of the 2022 grant applications. There were 5 applications, as we know, and I'm just going to propose that we have a discussion about each of them in turn, and then we can kind of move to a whiteboard moment where we're actually looking at numbers and starting to make some decisions. Does that sound okay? Okay, great. So let's start with the Caring Circle application. I'm just going to get my hard copy in front of me, which is one way to be 2022. Okay. So the Caring Circles application is for $15,000, which is a contribution to the program director's salary, similar in shape to applications we've received in other years. Michelle, Maureen, or Yvonne, any comments on that application?
I'm happy to start. I thought that the Caring Circle application was excuse me, strong. It's checks all the boxes. They're doing good work. They have the community volunteer input and the demonstration of impact across the community. My one concern with this, which is the same concern that I've raised every single time we've had this discussion, was that I personally don't think it's appropriate for the municipality to be using this grants committee as a vehicle to fund basically core services for the municipality. And so I'm just saying that again for the record. And I have docked in my own rankings of these, docked this one a little bit toward the criterion on financial sustainability, because they are not really working at all toward any sense of self-sustainability or sufficiency on this. They are relying on the municipality.
And there is, I guess, a question of whether they should be having to do that on top of whatever they're doing. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Michelle. Maureen or Yvonne? Yeah, Maureen.
This isn't so much about the actual application. And forgive me, I'm a bit unfamiliar with the process that's used because I'm just filling in for Michael today. But I do know that there was some discussion in prior years of looking again at the multi-year funding policy, because there were the two ongoing applicants to this grant program that their planning was hindered because they didn't have some consistency in funding. And is that a live issue, or are we looking at that policy at all? Is this ringing a bell?
The core funding policy, you mean?
Yeah.
That'd be Kristen.
And it's not a decision that this committee makes.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I
Comes
know.
from
Kristen will comment.
municipality.
Yeah.
I know that core funding and the multi-year grant policy has been directed by council to be reviewed by the corporate officer and myself. So I think we were just waiting for things to settle down a bit and get some time to look at it this summer and bring something back in the fall.
Okay. And I know that the stumbling.
And I sit with, oh,
Sorry, I know that the stumbling block in the past had to do with services provided by the
I
municipality
know.
in other jurisdictions. Okay, I'm glad it hasn't completely fallen off the radar, because it does complicate the work of this group.
It really does. Welcome, Maureen, to that complication. Yeah, it's something we do grapple with. Yvonne, did you want to comment?
yeah, I sit with Michelle on this piece because I've been also barking about this particular element around the core funding, and year after year, every year. So if, again, it's a strong application, that's not the question. It's never a question with these long-term year after year pieces, but then it's a focus of what is it that we're looking to do to move forward with that, or have the municipality determined to do something different as opposed to this particular element.
I mean, I want to chime in support of that, and I hope I'm not speaking too informally when I say it does set up this strange dichotomy. So applications like the Caring Circle and Family Place, we're not debating the merits of the project or even the merits of the funding requested. We're really just figuring out how much of what we've got we can send to what we know is a very worthy community service. And so, and that stands in contrast to wonderful community projects that are different, that are looking for a few thousand. And, you know, I'm not using these examples, jugglers or catering or something that's really going to support somebody. And they're apples and oranges, and it makes it very challenging. And both wanting to support the ongoing services, but also I think it makes it hard for those other projects who have applied, because how do you compete with Caring Circle? How do you compete with the support that Family Place is providing? It's just really difficult. We find it difficult.
But it
So
also sets up the dichotomy, though, that once you've said yes to this and then you've given it for a number of years, there's an automatic expectation or that this should be because of all the things that you're listing. That
I agree, Yvonne, but I don't think
it makes it tough.
I don't think it's, as far as my understanding is, it's not this committee's mandate to be assessing and supervising the work of the Caring Circle and Family Place, for example. That's not what we're doing. And so I agree that groups that have significant or hope for significant funding every year, there would be other ways to monitor and review the reports on their work. I don't think that's what this committee is really for. I could be wrong. What do you guys think? Okay. Okay, so we come back to the application itself for 15,000. Any comments on the amount compared to other years or in relation to the merits of the actual amount being requested? I don't really know. Okay. So can we move that to the side now, maybe? And I wonder if it would make sense then, we've grouped them together a little bit, rightly or wrongly. Can we move to the Family Place application now? Okay. So the Family Place, through the Children's Center, has made a request for $12,000, again, as part of core funding. And I'm happy to kick things off by saying, from my perspective, I thought it was, again, a strong application and the same high quality we've received in these applications in the past. Anybody else?
I would echo that basically, and also echo the comments that I made on the Caring Circle. I think that it's a consistently strong proposal. They're doing good work. That's an important role that they're playing in the community. I docked them a couple of points on the financial sustainability, which is one of the criteria that we have. And otherwise, I think again, I don't think we should be funding them with this vehicle, but we are for this year. And so I think they've submitted a strong proposal.
Thanks, Michelle. It would be nice to have committed funding. I can't see Anne, but I'm sure she's nodding somewhere. Maureen and Yvonne, any comments?
I also think it was a strong proposal and quite remarkable work during a pandemic year.
I know.
Both Caring Circle and Family Place, I think, are really to be commended for getting through and helping a lot of people in very difficult circumstances in some instances.
Yeah. Yeah. Frontline stuff. It is. Okay. Are there any questions or for the group or any other comments here before I'm moving my document slowly over to the side here. Okay. And so then if we come back to our the list as it's set out in the agenda, next on the list is Beaufest. Beaufest made an application for $2,500, and I honestly, I'll comment. We've spent a bit of time over the last few years figuring out how best to approach the issue of follow-up questions. And I hope I speak for all of us when I say it was really terrific to be able to pull together. We had a few different questions from around the committee. To be able to send those in advance and to get Joan's comments was so helpful, so helpful. So just for the record, I think we should stick with this system. Yeah. I don't feel like I'm sitting here saying, oh, if only we could know this or that, we could do such a good job. Does anybody want to kick off comments on this application? I'm happy to start, because my challenge with this application, as we've been saying about so many, is Beaufest is such a wonderful event. It's so, it comes to thinking about the criteria, it includes everybody, it's financially accessible to everybody, it's a wonderful community event, it's well run, the finances are in good shape, all that stuff. My only real hesitation here is I don't think they need this money. And especially again, when you look at the needs identified by the Family Place and Caring Circle. I mean, I just genuinely don't think there is no need for this 2,500 that I can see. And part of that was shaped, in my view, by Joan's comment that they've been very conservative in their estimate about how much they hope to make this year. But looking at last year, I think there's going to be good revenue this year. Perhaps they've been a bit too conservative, even with their commendable planning for the future. I think they're going to be okay. I'm interested in other comments.
I agree.
Is it you, Yvonne? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, it is.
This is not a comment.
I'm flipping over to my phone.
Okay. This is not a comment about anything except actual need. Michelle or Maureen?
Yeah.
So I largely agree with you, but with one slightly reframing on that, and that
Great.
is that I did see and take to heart the comment that we got back and the follow-up comments. That was, this is a volunteer-run organization, and this is their one opportunity in the year to have income, and they do try to keep a bank balance of a minimum of sort of the production costs for next year, just in case. And so I totally agree with you in that I feel like they are projecting a profit. They have often projected a profit. I'm not sure why we need to fund an organization that's going to end up ultimately profiting from it, except for the fact that it's not money that's going to be lining anybody's pockets. It's just going to go into the bank to offset next year's costs. And so I guess because I feel like no one has actually any idea how much money this is going to come in the door and how much things are ultimately going to cost. Allowing them some amount of money just as a little bit of a cushion, sort of against next year almost, made a certain amount of sense to me.
My only comment about that, and everybody is allowed to giggle a little bit at my numbers analysis, you're totally allowed, but as I understand it, what's being projected for ticket sales for this year, for example, is, oh, I'm sorry, it's these crazy numbers. So
Numbers are tough.
Oh, I see. So they're projecting the same amount of ticket sales, actually less than last year is what they're projecting, right? A little less than last year. I thought they were only projecting 1,000. Okay. Right. Yeah, I guess sorry, just to finish that inarticulate response, Michelle. I hear you. I think what I'm saying is I think it's great to have a bit of a surplus, and you clearly do. And that's been a good strategy, but I'm not sure that I think there might be even more than that surplus, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Maureen or Yvonne.
Listen, I get the whole piece around supporting the community events. So, for me, I look at this very differently because I also have a nonprofit myself. So sustainability becomes the ticket and how you look to do that. But in saying that, when I did my marking, I've always said yes to a little bit of something to Beaufest because it's run completely by volunteers. And that changes all the time. Like, you can have some really pretty solid people one year, and the next year it's a whole brand new group of people. So things can really be wavering. So giving a little bit of something has always been my bit of a bit of a mantra, knowing that it is the one big historical thing for the community. My 2 cents.
My initial recommendation was not to support the grant application, but in part that was because I hadn't received copies of the responses from Joan. And I did find that the responses were helpful. I also think that, frankly, it would be weird for Beaufest, the major event in our community, to not have some support from the municipality. And I think that having municipal support also might assist in leveraging some other support from other organizations or from businesses. So I could be convinced to revise my initial assessment and support some form of grant, maybe along the lines that Yvonne was suggesting.
Or maybe, Maureen, I'm just wondering if what we're really supporting is we're supporting an organization with a demonstrated strategy of maintaining sustainability. So we're supporting that approach. It's something we've talked about a lot with different organizations around the island over the years. And so, I mean, I could maybe get on board on that basis, that we're really actively supporting that strategy. It feels still pretty conservative to me when I look at these numbers compared to the margins that everybody else is dealing with, but not necessarily supporting it just because it's a lovely community event. That's not really, that doesn't, for me, the need needs to be there. Yeah. So do we?
That's an interesting position though, when you think about it, because I'm just going to chime in a little bit here, because we will support pieces and very well needed programs like Family Place and Caring Circle. And yes, they do provide, we would consider that a particular service to the island, but many people would consider Beaufest provides a particular service that is based on tradition and what the island represents, and does a whole number of things that, to some extent, in terms of people being connected and feeling connected and being engaged and having some place where they feel belonged, is very similar to some of the work that the Children's Center and Family Place, that's their whole derivative around how they connect families, how they connect people, how they support, blah, blah, blah.
100%.
So, yeah.
But do they need the money? I mean, we're not saying we're not, I mean, my argument wouldn't be that we don't agree with that. But do we write a check just because we don't want them to think that they're valuable?
Yeah, like I've been a part of Beaufest, and I know that they always do. They do live from hand to mouth. My big issue with Beaufest has always been about providing, like, building some pieces around sustainability longer term and figuring out some structures, whether you're doing a little bit of your own fundraising. It's difficult because it's all run by volunteers, but I do know they live from hand to mouth. Like, there's traditionally, because I've seen the budgets when I've been attached to it, it's a lot more times than not, it's bare bones.
I don't understand hand to mouth looking at these financials, so will you help me with that? Michelle, is that what you were going to say, or you jump in?
No, I was just going to say, I thought that your point a moment ago was actually quite interesting, which was viewing it more as a model where we are giving them a small piece of funding that can help them leverage other sources of funding, and they otherwise have sort of are working toward a model of sustainability that is something that we're actually aspiring to and wishing that all of our participants would do. And so it's a little bit unfortunate to say, okay, you guys are doing a good job of fundraising, so we're going to slap your hands and tell you can't have anything more, because in fact we're trying to get everybody to do that. And so I like the idea of giving them something, a little bit of something, just to be part of their funding mosaic, because their funding is a little bit touch and go. It depends a lot on variables. I mean, it could be that it's going to rain on Beaufest Day and the gate's going to be half what they're anticipating right now, and then they don't have anything to go forward with for next year. And so we just don't know. And they're saying that this amount would make a difference to us, and we can say, well, maybe not that amount, but maybe an amount still will.
It's the nature of this, this grant, it's the nature of this granting program, isn't it? That it's this such a funny mix of this is effectively operational funding, right? It's not something special that they're wanting to do. And if they don't get the funds, so it's very much like Family Place and Caring Circle in a way, versus specific projects like the Playscape application, and they're just so different. So what you're talking about, Michelle, is we're almost applying different criteria to ongoing programs versus specific projects. And again, apples and oranges. Yeah.
Andrea, in light of time, do you want to kind of do a little review of all of them and then maybe come back to this?
What a lovely and diplomatic nudge, Steph. Thank you. Okay.
We'll get a spreadsheet going after the initial discussions.
No, that's great. But I felt it was important to really cover that point, because I couldn't bear for anyone to think for me, it was about need. Is there need or not? And I didn't want anyone to think it wasn't, that this was a good application. Okay, so the next up in the roster is the Playscapes group, speaking of which. So Bowen Island Playscapes is seeking $28,353, which is an amount that will allow them to complete the Westside Playscape Park project. Open for comments.
I think they deserve a huge amount of credit for getting as far as they have. So I tended to look on that application very, very positively.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember, though, having this little moment of, is this actually eligible for this granting program? So I went back and looked at the criteria, and yeah, it seems to be, but it again, that underscores the apple and oranges nature of looking at these applications, as a whole.
Yeah,
they're a funny whole.
This was one of my favorite applications. I thought that they did a really good job with it. Clearly, they've got their act together. They've got some good people working on this project. I like the idea that it would be a hub on the other side of the island, on the west side. We have all of the stuff around the cove, and it's nice to have ways that the community can engage that don't involve coming to the cove for absolutely everything. I liked the fact that they addressed that it could be a place where camp could be held, or different groups could be multi-ages. There could be places for elderly to go for walks, and for kids, and for families to engage. Yeah. And so it was, I thought that the only concern I really had was about the budget, given the limitations of our budget. The fact that they're requesting the vast majority of it is difficult. And so, I don't think we can fund them anywhere near their full request, but I think that they have a very valid and worthy request, and they've done an excellent job presenting it.
Thanks, Michelle. Maureen or Yvonne?
I'm a ditto with Michelle.
Yeah.
It's just the money, the amount that they're asking for, just with our restraints, is very difficult, but it's one of the best proposals we've seen for a while.
Yeah, and it does highlight the difference when we see an application in relation to a project. There's a beginning, middle, and end, and especially when an application is about bringing something to a very happy end, it's lovely. And this is such a well put together project and well put together application. I agree with everything everybody said. It's just how much of the pie can we move there will be the question. And it's the big question, isn't it? Okay, so I'm going to move that to these pile. And last but not least, the application for the Right on Bowen Festival. I think Jackie is with us. And so they've asked for $1,500 to help support the festival and in particular, their sort of gala evening that's happening on the Saturday night of the festival that has some special expenses. And Jacqueline was very good to give us some further detail about what those exact expenses were, which we were grateful for. So, comments.
I'll dive in again. I like this one a lot too. It's very different from any of the other proposals we looked at. I like the fact that it actually had quite a modest budget, and I feel 100% behind providing funding to artists who are coming to Bowen to do things. Like, people should be paid for, performing and doing their work in the artistic sphere. And so I thought, that's good. I think it is a nice contribution to the community. I mean, they're offering something a little bit special. It's not something that we see every year, even though maybe it will become more regular. But it's new-ish, and it's a different demographic. It's not kids, which there are lots of activities for kids. It's writers and readers, and those are a group that doesn't necessarily always get involved in stuff. And so I thought it was well put together, a very modest budget. The budget seemed targeted toward useful things and was going to engage community in a way that does the parts of the community that don't always have the opportunity to do so.
Thanks, Michelle. Yvonne or Maureen?
I pretty much support anything Jacqueline puts in play, because my experience is when she's doing this sorts of different work, and the different projects are always really exceptional work, and it's well blended to meet the different community needs and to represent the different individuals, members of the community. And it's such a modest budget, it makes complete sense to me.
Thanks, Yvonne. I second that. This is what am I trying to say? Lots of credibility in an application that Jackie writes. Yeah. Maureen.
I didn't have an opportunity to review the financials. Sort of, there was a rowdy.
Oh, it was a glitch on. It was an error on my part. And
that's okay. I mean, I'm happy to go with the direction that the rest of the committee is going in, and similarly, I know that Jackie will ensure that the event is very successful.
Maureen, just for your benefit, because it's really easy, what Jackie was able to do is just make it clear about the ticket sales. So the gala tickets mostly are going to already be in play with past participants. So it's really just going to be, probably they estimate 26 people might buy a gala ticket. So that was helpful to understand. And then she just was able to break down the actual costs related to the gala a little bit more. So it looks like Copper Distillery is going to be rented. There's going to be, I think, a happy hour event. Was that it? And there's other refreshments, anyway, musicians, that kind of thing. I think I have that right. Yeah. So that's what you missed. I pretty much agree with all that's been said. It's nice to have a smaller amount to work with, and a very particular project for a very particular part of our community, from whom we haven't heard a lot the last 2 or 3 years, right? So, okay. So that's our quick run through, Steph. Is it time for?
Yeah, if you guys feel ready, Kristen's going.
It's time for the next portion of the thinking.
It's numbers time.
It's numbers time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Kristen can share a spreadsheet and you guys can knock out some numbers.
Okay, so I listened very closely to the conversation as you were going along, and I took the chance to put some preliminary grant numbers in that came to the total. I don't want to be presumptuous though, so I'm just going to give you the opportunity. Do you want to start with a number and talk about it from there, or do you want a blank slate?
If it's okay, I prefer a blank slate.
Okay.
Because I don't want anyone to think that's been kind of prejudged.
Yeah.
Or at
That's
least,
why I'm asking.
or maybe the numbers in there can just be what they're asked and then we could whittle.
I've got that, yeah.
Oh, you're so good. Is that
Yeah.
okay, everybody?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I just wanted to know your preference. Sometimes it's easier to start with something and sometimes it's easier for a blank slate. I haven't done this with this group before.
Well, I'm just thinking for the folks who are watching, I'd like them to see how the numbers get trimmed.
Okay,
Okay.
here we go. So, you are looking at my Excel spreadsheet, are you?
We are.
Okay. So I've listed the two. I took them a little bit out of order. I listed them in the order that you guys discussed them. So the first one then would be Caring Circle, and the grant requested was 15,000.
So what this beautifully shows, Kristen, is the work we have ahead of us. We need to find a way to trim $11,453 from these, what we've identified as worthwhile asks. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So does
So
they have a recommendation for a preliminary grant award?
On this one, what I did is I rounded each one of them down somewhat in proportion to the request. So, right on Bowen is rounded down somewhat less than the Playscapes, which is a bigger ask, right? On this one, I just started as a starting point at $14,200 because I thought that it's largely a request that we probably want to try to fund near the amount that we can, but near the total request. But rounding everything down a little bit seems to be the only way we're going to get anywhere. And so I said 14.2.
We good to start with 14.2?
let's do it.
Thank you.
I was in the same camp as Michelle, although I originally wasn't sure about funding for Beaufest. But so maybe for Family Place, we could do something similar. It's a very small round down, Michelle, on Caring Circle. So to do that for Beaufest, it would be what, like, or sorry, for Family Place, it would be 11.1. I don't know.
Maybe 11.2 or 11.3.
Yeah, thank you. See, this is why I'm not in Kristen's job. Thank God for everybody. Okay.
We can make a little adjustments with $100 here and there. So we're not finalized yet.
I'll put it out there and you guys can argue me back because I was not sure about the need for Beaufest. With the proviso I offered before, of course, it's a wonderful event, very well run. I would suggest maybe rounding down a little more for Beaufest because it's not in that, it doesn't have that critical component to this funding. So even if we went to, let's go to 15 and you guys can think about that number. Somebody want to throw out a number for the Playscape project?
For the Playscape project, I put it at 20,000 because it was a lovely round number.
Go, Michelle. Let's do that. And I guess, Yvonne, or Maureen, does anyone want to chime in? I guess right on Bowen, we could say people were keen on the small amount. Do we say 15? Let's just do it. Do we round down a bit? What do we?
No, it's only 15. Just give it all.
Got it. I needed to say that,
It's a
Yvonne.
heartbeat.
God bless you. Go.
That's why you're asking me, because I'm the one. Give it all. Give it all.
We're pretty close.
We
Yeah.
are pretty close.
So that's oversubscribed by only 600. So that's not a terrible adjustment to need to make.
Any comments on those preliminary numbers before we start to tweak?
I guess I would be happy. I initially had said on Beaufest, I originally pegged it at 2, but given the conversation, I would be swayed to go a little bit lower. I think we could do Beaufest at 1,000, and that's still half their request. But it's recognizing that they are likely to turn a profit, and this will just guarantee that they have a little bit more in the bank to go forward to next year and to be, you know, a funder from the municipality and to augment the other funding that they'll get.
Just, I mean, I'm stating the obvious, it's less than half the request. It's like, yeah, okay, good. $100.
That's all you need.
Well, it's got to come from either caring place or family in terms of where we're sitting.
Christine, could we make it, do you have magic math? Could we make sure that we're adjusting Caring Circle and Family Place down at exactly the same level first? And then maybe apportion that 100 in the same way?
I was very close.
Of course you were.
That's that. So that's the same. It's a 94.6% of their ask. So that puts us in 160 of the target if you want to split the difference.
Try that, see how that looks. Okay, let's sit for a minute. Just not for too long, Steph, I promise. Think about it. Okay. Any comments?
Yeah, I'm not altogether comfortable with the process that we just used to split the difference with Caring Circle and Bowen Family Place. In part because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that there's more, there's more flexibility for Family Place to deal with the shortfall than Caring Circle has to deal with the shortfall. If Caring Circle doesn't get its $15,000, which it has received, it looks like for the last 5 years, they've been for the last 3 years, they've received the full $15,000, and that affects one person who doesn't have a lot of other sources of revenue. Whereas I think Family Place is nestled in a different context that has been able to support it through, a pretty significant reduction last year. Last year, they only got $8,500. For them to receive, 11,000 or so, that's a nice jump again to help them offer their programs. And it's also, if you look at what Family Place has received, they've received $8,500, 10,000, 10,000, 10,000, 10,000. They've never received more than 10,000 under this program. So I really would like Caring Circle to just be the flat 1,500, and I'd be
15,000. Yeah.
And I'd be fine with all of the recommendations for the others and for Family Place to get whatever's left to balance it out.
Okay, let's look at what the numbers that Maureen is suggesting. Okay.
That's the numbers in column F.
Yeah. I really appreciate your thinking there, Maureen. It's great.
The only thing I would add to that is that we somewhat arbitrarily chose $20,000 for Westside Playscape because 20,000 is a nice number with lots of zeros on it and has balance, it's visually attractive. I wonder if this is a place where they might also have a little bit more give. So I understand that they're at the end of their project and this is what it's going to take to finish it off. But you know, if they weren't able to buy the sun sails until next year or something like that, it probably wouldn't be the end of the project. And so I guess I'm not necessarily advocating for it. I'm just putting it out there. Do we want to take a little bit more out of the Westside Playscape in order to make up a difference to the family place, or are we happy with sort of this balance as it is?
Do you have any suggestion? And 500?
Well, just, yeah, listen, hang on, wait, do you have any comments, Yvonne, on that?
Well, again, everybody's going to take a look at this a little differently. We've always funded Family Place and we've always funded the Caring Circle. So I understand why that is so critical, especially for the Caring Circle, because we're paying for somebody's salary. Somewhere along the way, I'm hoping that gets a different slant. If we're looking at particular projects, and this project has an opportunity to be that much beneficial for the West Side, and they're close to what they need to have. I look at the 20,000 as something that's representative to having a project that has a start, a middle, and end, and then just trying to figure out between what we can maneuver between Family Place and Caring Circle. I'm with Maureen in that sense that if Family Place has not received more than X amount of money, maybe we should stay within that realm. However, the cost of everything in these times also merits that people are going to be requesting for a larger amount because the cost of everything is that much more. So I'm looking at this trying to figure out between, to me, it makes more sense that we figure out the difference between Caring Place and Caring Circle and Family Place for the shortage that we have, so that the SCAPE program could get as much as it could, so it's got that element for the West Side.
I'm actually I'm comfortable with the numbers as they are now for a lot of the reasons Yvonne's talking about. I mean, if I'm right, there is an increase in funding to the Family Place over last year. Am I right?
Yeah.
1,000 more than last year, and which is something. And I'm also mindful that projects. I'm mindful of that thing we talked about where, you know, annual funding versus projects. It does make it very tricky for projects in this paper. So I feel like for me, this represents a pretty good compromise between those two kinds of requests. That's what I inarticulately was trying to say.
I think that sounds good.
Maureen, you're nodding.
Yeah.
I agree too.
So are we getting close to recommendation stage? As I start to angle towards it, I'm just looking for any final thoughts or concerns. Should we do it, Steph?
Sure. Would you like me to read it out?
Yes, I would, because everyone's sick of hearing me.
Okay. Don't change the screen, Kristen. That the Community Grants Advisory Committee recommend to Council that the amount specified be allocated to the following: Caring Circle Health and Wellness Society of Bowen Island, $15,000. Bowen Children's Center, Bowen Family Place, $10,400. Bowen Island Community Festival Association, $1,000. Bowen Island Playscape Group, $20,000. Right on Bowen, $1,500.
That's great.
And we have a mover.
I'll move that.
You missed your calling, Steph. You should have been that one on the phone system that says you have reached the correct number.
Well, she's got a soothingness to her. I think, yeah, in a crisis, you want that voice, baby.
Absolutely.
Okay, focus, people.
I'd like to move it.
Move by Andrea.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Yay.
Thank you, everybody. What a great crop of applications this year. Not that they aren't always, but yeah.
Kristen, do you want to release the screen?
Yes, I will. Thank you very much to all of the committee members and Councillor Nicholson for stepping in a pinch. Thank you.
Back to our agenda. We don't have any new business, I don't think, except potentially, I see next meeting as another agenda item altogether. So I think we can acknowledge there isn't any new business. Information items. Do we have any, Steph?
So we always keep the strategic plan linked to keep members aware of the strategic plan for council. And then we have the minutes of the May 31st, 2022 meeting attached, just for keep you guys looped in, and grant allocations from this council information. Sorry. I do believe that you wanted to talk about having a meeting shortly in order to finalize the criteria and policy or provide recommendations regarding such.
Yeah, that's right. We did some really great work after last year to, I think, further clarify and simplify the criteria and we'd love to, Michelle and I were talking about it with Steph in terms of just coming back together to finalize those before we all go back to bed for a year. And if it's possible to do it this summer, it would be lovely. But Steph, I'm not sure, that would involve Bobby and Penny, is that right? And I'm not sure what Councillor Kale's schedule's like, whether we could convince Maureen to participate in that discussion. But I don't know, any thoughts on timing?
I don't have any particular plans that I have to work around at this point. So if we let it slide too far, we sort of lose our momentum and forget what we were going to talk about. So I would say let's not do it at the end of the fall.
No.
But late summer, early fall, in that window.
Okay.
That works for me.
Yeah. And so what I would propose to do is just recirculate our I'll have to look at the materials again, hey, Steph, just our last crack at the new criteria, which basically had 3 sections instead of 7. And
very close. Almost there. Did you want me to recirculate then, or were you going to do that?
Yes, if you leave it to me. I mean,
okay.
Yeah, we want you to.
Okay.
And then it'll just be a final discussion about the merits of the revision. And then we'll need to talk about the recommendation that we want to make to council on that. Okay. And there might be scope in that meeting to talk about any other recommendations we might want to make and around the core funding, and I don't know, there might be space to comment there too.
Okay. So I'll send a poll out.
Sounds good.
Is it greedy to think we might spend an hour on this? I think it will take that.
Realistic.
Yeah, okay,
Let's
good.
be realistic.
Okay, thanks. Okay. Oh, so now there's another Robert's Rules of Order, isn't there, Steph? I feel it. Do we need to call it to a close?
You can just
wave a flag?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to call this meeting to a close and thank everybody for their time today.
I want to see your
Thank
meeting
you.
end flag. Don't you have a flag?
Oh, but I kind of made it up. Here's a piece of artwork somebody's
Here's
daughter did at the office. Yeah, meeting's over. Wave a flag. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much.